Thank you for joining us. Sometime around 3 p.m. on Tuesday this week, a very critical event took place. That event took place at the National Conference Center at Lilendale. And that event was the certification of the recount results for Region 4. That brought to an end the recount process that had started some 33 days prior to that fateful day. And why do I say it is critical? Because the 10 regions of Guyana, all the votes cast in those regions on elections day were recounted and certificate issued. So right now in the possession of GECOM, the observers and all the political parties, and almost across the country, people have now in their possession 10 regions with certified results of the March 2nd elections. And what do those results point to, and what are their implications for the country? So the results point to a victory for the People's Progressive Party. The PPP got, as we had indicated earlier, 233,000 votes, more than 233,000 votes, and APNU 217,000 odd votes. Now, the implication of this is vital. It is important, and that is why from that moment onward, from Tuesday around 3 onwards, when the final region was certified, we argued that Irfan Ali had moved from the presidential candidate of the People's Progressive Party to being the president-elect of Guyana. And this is clearly outlined in our Constitution, and that is why we have been urging everyone to read the Constitution of Guyana. It's under Article 177, 1, and Article 177.2, it says, where there are 2 or more presidential candidates, if more votes are cast in favor of the list in which a person is designated as presidential candidate than in favor of any other list, that presidential candidate shall be deemed to be elected as president and shall be so declared by the chairman of the Elections Commission. So it's one sentence that goes to prove that Irfan Ali is now deemed the president of Guyana. So once the votes were recounted and certified, the people of this country, except for a few, can do simple mathematics. You can add the results of the 10 certified regional results, not the regional results, but results for those regions in the general elections, and then you will see that the list, the People's Progressive Party list, had the majority vote in these elections. And therefore, this provision of the Constitution kicks in. And so Irfan Ali is now deemed to be the president of Guyana. Once that result was certified, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. The whole country now knows which party won the most votes at the March 2nd elections. So I've been hearing from the APNU camp various things. And I want to say, I'm not going to spend a lot of time debating these issues, nor am I going to address them at great length, because I think by now most of these issues have been openly and extensively discredited. And people see the APNU camp, the Reagan camp, a diminishing group of people, a dwindling group of people who are hanging on to the end, and they're so delusional that they're devoid of any sense of, and devoid of any sense of reality, that they're making some of the most ridiculous statements in the world. So let me just say for that small group who still believes that they can reverse the results of the recount, that one, there is no provision in our Constitution or any law in this country which says that there can be a situation where once there is a result in the election, and there has been a result and a certified result, that there'd be no declaration. So GECOM doesn't have any authority vested in them by any law in this country or the Constitution to not declare a winner or the president or the list that won the most votes. We already have certified results, so they're bound to declared on the basis of the certified results. Two, there is no provision in our Constitution or any law to say that GECOM has any authority to void an election, annul it, or to call for fresh elections. There's absolutely no law that gives GECOM that power. Thirdly, there is no provision in the law to say that the chancellor can intervene and impose a power sharing arrangement. At this stage, this is a view of some people, including Henry Jeffrey and the others. I don't know, they must be losing their marbles to even suggest this as though it's part of our Constitution or any law in the country. The Chancellor has no such power. Four, there is no provision in the Constitution or in our laws to say that GECOM can constitute itself into a court of law to hear complaints by contesting parties. Absolutely none. In fact, the Constitution is very explicit when it says about that any challenging of the elections would have to be done through the jurisdiction of the court. And so, for those who think that GECOM can now convert itself into a court of law and hear their complaints, they can file those complaints in an elections petition at the end of when the declaration is made and the new president sworn in. They can file a petition and argue their case. And if the court finds that their case is valid, then the court has remedies which it can apply. So these are some things I keep hearing out there that could happen. But I want to make it clear that GECOM now, the commission, is bound to make a declaration on the basis of the recount, the numbers cast of the ballots cast on March 2nd. So we are awaiting the official declaration, although we have a president-elect already. And that happened the moment the results were certified for all 10 regions. We expect Mr. Lowenfield's report to be consistent with the order, which says a summary of the observation reports. Summary doesn't mean that he has powers to investigate. It's a passive reporting relationship in his report. Passive. And he has to just summarize the content of the observation report. Now, you know what would be some of the things in the observation report. So, claim of dead people without no evidence, and also claim that people migrated, Harman submitted and voted, which they couldn't prove any link between those who were outside of the country and those who voted. But even if for a moment you give them the benefit of the doubt, as I pointed out already, that of the list of just over 500 persons that Harman sent to the chair claiming they were out of the jurisdiction, out of Guyana on March 2nd, we've already found more than 50% of those people who were in Guyana and voted on elections day. So totally discredited complaints and issues they have raised. The last issue that they raised have been the fallacy of these 29 boxes. And so in a recount, as this was, the ballots and the others were in the box. These ballots were authenticated. They were real ballots. They were ballots issued by GECOM. They were properly stamped, and they were recounted, and the statement of recount matched the statement of poll. The fact that Mingo's secretary or one of his staff said to deliver the other documents like poll book, etc., to Mingo is not an issue here, because this is a recount. And even if it was an issue, they should find Mingo and let Mingo tell them where those documents are. But the fact that those documents have nothing to do with the validity of the ballots or the vote. These are real people who showed up and voted. They wanted the commission to exclude those people from being, their votes from being counted. And of course, the commission took the right decision that they have no authority to disenfranchise any voter. But they're still, part of their propaganda machinery is churning this out as though it's a real issue and that there was some problem there. There's no problem except that their dear friend, their co-conspirator Mingo, now has some of these documents. The next, but talking about them and what they have been saying publicly. Imagine, at the beginning I said that people must be losing their minds in that camp. because the latest document that they posted on their website on Thursday at 10 a.m., that was yesterday at 10 a.m., said that, and this is the document that they posted on their webpage, I think it was the Facebook page. They claim that 101,406 were the total votes cast, valid votes cast. So APNU, in the elections, you had 460,000, just upwards of that. 460,000 votes that were cast and counted. And APNU got 217,000 and the PPP 233,000. Now they're claiming that only 101,000 were valid votes. So if you subtract 101,000 from the 360,000 or so, 361,000, near 361,000, 461,000 rather, you will get 360,000 people that they're now claiming who voted on election day that their votes are not valid. So 360,000 of the 461,000 have lost their votes because of APNU's calculation now. They sit at Congress Place and decided to take away the votes from these people. They're claiming that APNU got 62,000 of those valid votes and the PPP 37,000. So in the whole elections, we got, instead of 233,000, they're saying we got 37,000 now, and they got 62,000. So they won by a landslide. Now, this is how ridiculous it is. This is 18% of the votes that the PPP got in 2015 when they won the elections, and 29% of the votes that they got in 2015 when they won, that they're claiming are now valid. All the others are not valid. These are reports put together by mad people, crazy people. And I fear for them and their sanity, not the sanity, but for what they could do. People like these have no sense of realism. They're just lost. And that is what's happening in that camp. Apart from that, there's a big jostling now for who would control Congress Place assets and stuff like that. So I heard there have been lots of people fighting now, changing locks because they know whoever controls the assets at Congress Place will probably control the party and will control what's going on in Parliament. And they may be able to get their sympathizers for those factions appointed to Parliament. So I gather Joseph Harman is busy trying to take over the PNC now. And that is why we see him, apart from the fact that he's a totally dishonest person, that we see him now acting up. He seems to be their bulldog. So he cusses out every CARICOM head of state or former head of government or former head of government, or anyone for that matter, all in the entire international community and local people from NGOs and political parties who will dare say that they lost the elections. So they're the only ones, believe this small group of people sitting at Congress Place now, who know, I think the sane ones in their midst know that they have lost. So many of them are clearing out ministries now, or their desks from the ministries, and some are illegally destroying state documents, which we have warned the Commissioner of Police about when we met with him. But the other group is lashing out at everyone. And so I saw the recent statement, a nasty statement from Harman again, talking about Ralph Gonzalez's statement, is prejudicial to the integrity of the process. Now, their attempting to steal the elections through Mingo was not prejudicial to the integrity of the process. But because Ralph Gonzalez said, that you have to respect the results of the recount and have the declaration be made on the recount, that he has now been faced with the most vile attack by Joseph Harman, who has absolutely no integrity whatsoever. And I would just urge the APNU supporters and even President Granger to look at what he signed up to and to recall the discussion we had with the 5 CARICOM heads in the CARICOM headquarters. And what we agreed to was a recount of the votes. And if you listen to when Mia Motley announced the CARICOM team coming to Guyana, she made it clear that this was a recount requested by President Granger. That is what it is, a recount, and that is what Ralph Gonzalez said. You requested a recount, the recount has been completed, we have a numbers conforming the SOPs, you have to declare on the basis of the recount numbers. Everything else goes to court. Everything else goes to court. And so we have to, I was pleased to see the former Prime Minister of Barbados point out about the CARICOM Charter on Civil Society and democracy and everything else. So it is a sign of desperation that I see now in the APNU camp. We expect that Mr. Lowenfield will complete his report. His report will be consistent with what the order says. He will not attempt, even though I'm sure that there must be intense pressure on him, to interject in the report subjective views and APNU's propaganda. And we're expecting that the Commission will act in accordance with their mandate. And now that we have a result of the party that has had the most votes, that they will formally declare Irfaan Ali President of Guyana before the 16th of June. And this is critical for us because there are so many things to address. I'm not going to spend much time on them, but yesterday the President-elect spoke about the economy and how bad things are now, the deteriorating framework. Because when we went into the elections, we knew that based on their profligacy and the degeneracy and all of the, and also the stealing, the venality, everything else that was going on, that we will have a tough situation because they were already running down the reserves, they were spending money without parliamentary oversight, there was large-scale corruption. But now it's even worse because in the past few months, apart from they kept spending, kept doing corrupt deals, they kept on doing corrupt deals, even up to yesterday I heard the Ministry of Housing was signing. Imagine the ministers are not ministers, basically. Their tenure came to an end, they're imposters. But they're calling themselves ministers, and they keep approving things up to yesterday. Leases for land, a whole range of stuff. And awarding contracts as though nothing has happened. And so we know now that the revenue has practically collapsed. And as you heard, the debt situation, the domestic debt has skyrocketed, which will have either implications for the bill, which would have implications for the Treasury. You have to repay the domestic debt and at the same time find funds to finance the many programs that are needed to reboot the economy after the COVID pandemic and the loss of so many jobs and income by so many people. So it's not going to be a walk in the park, and the earlier we get to it before things get worse, before more people lose jobs and we have more businesses failing and more of these corrupt activities that squander vital resources taking place, we need to get to the task of nation building early. And therefore, it's vital that the declaration be made soon, and we believe it will be made because there is no room to act otherwise. The laws of our country do not permit this, nor does the Constitution. We have also another crucial event coming up that at the end of this month, there'll be a hearing on the border issue with Venezuela. And we need to go there to say that we have a legitimate government in place now, not a de facto administration that no doubt Venezuela will seek to exploit. We also have to address this COVID-19 pandemic and to try to swiftly rebuild or build the capacity of the health sector to manage the transition back from a lockdown into opening up the economy with a minimal resurgence or with no resurgence of the COVID-19 virus, as so many other countries have seen. We are fortunate in that our people took the measures seriously. They wore their masks, they isolated, etc. But there has to be a balance now between health concerns and opening up, because people have to earn, they have to live, they have to get their lives back to normalcy, and therefore that is vital. You need strong government leadership to guide people in the direction as to what protocols would be employed to make sure that we can save lives, but at the same time put our people back to work and earning. These are all key issues that why we need to bring this matter to a close now, so very, very soon. And we have to reject any attempt by this the rigging cabal to prolong events. There are threats of violence that they're saying, oh, people will take to the streets. But what do you take to the streets for? To fight for people who are thieves, basically, because they're trying to steal the elections. People who have no concern about the future of our country, its reputation, no concern about their jobs, just to hang on to keep stealing. And I have great faith in this country. We spoke with the Commissioner of Police. We made it clear, and he has assured us that the security forces are ready to ensure that law and order is maintained and that lives and properties are protected. That was one of the reasons why I requested the meeting with the Commissioner of Police. We spoke about those who are trying to divide our country by spreading racism. And we took a strong view on this, that these people must be prosecuted. And therefore, we are gathering up all of the information. We have already sent some to the police. We asked for a contact person that the commissioner has promised to supply, so we can send information there. And now and in the new government, we're going to make sure that people who push racism and division among our people, that they face, because this is illegal, reprehensible to our constitution, but illegal, they face the full force of the law. We're very cognizant about all of those concerns out there in the public. APNU wants to use the threat of violence. That's what they keep saying, and to ensure that we delay the process further. That is what. And somehow, if they do that, that the PPP will roll over and say, okay, declare APNU the winner, so that we don't have the violence that they're threatening. They gotta think that we're totally spineless, or that sense don't have any sense, and that's not going to happen. And therefore, I want to urge people to be patient a few days more, but be watchful. Let's see that. Watch out for Lowenfield's report to see if he will continue to maintain and the staff of GECOM the new level of professionalism that we saw in the recount. I can't vouch for what happened before, because we saw some very, very unusual, in fact, criminal things taking place before this recount started. But I must say that in the recount process, we saw, apart from one person or so, almost all the staff of GECOM acting professionally throughout the recount. And as I mentioned before, the chair had a special role to play in ensuring that it was completed, the chair and the commission. And I want to thank all of them for that position there. But we remain watchful to see that they are not influenced once again by APNU. And this could have, should they depart from the professional course that they had embarked upon in the process of the recount, there must be consequences. So I hope that they will be mindful of that, and that they continue to act professionally. That's why we're looking forward to that report being consistent with the order and the mandate. And thereafter, we are hoping that the commission will expeditiously declare finally the president, who is already deemed president, declare him formally as president, and effect the swearing in. Thank you.